Welcome to School Zone. My name is Amy Tregaskes, and I am a parent and an educator, and this show today is to talk about education issues here on our White Mountains. And I have with me today the Superintendent of Show Schools, Shad Housley, and Principal of Nikolaus Homestead Elementary, Kevin Hall. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
So the issue I wanted to talk about today was tax credits. I think that there's probably a myth that you can only use tax credits in December, right before the end of the year, or even what they're for. So I've brought these two here as experts in tax credits, and we are going to discuss that. So Mr. Housley, I'd like to first talk about what is tax credits and how is that different from a tax, maybe a donation? If you can talk a little bit about that, maybe the history of tax credits with the schools.
Yeah. So good question. A lot of times people misunderstand the tax deduction versus a tax credit. And as far as school tax credits are concerned, it's a dollar for dollar credit that you are given by the state tax time. So if you have a tax liability, let's say of $400, and you did a tax credit to the school for $400, you would receive all of that $400 back, or it would be a wash. You wouldn't have any tax liability.
Okay.
So it's really, my perspective is this, is that, instead of paying taxes like we all have to do and sending all of that money to the state to let them determine how to use it, a tax credit allows me to give a specific donation to a club or organization inside of a school district, and I get to say at least where that money gets to go. So if my son or daughter is in band or choir or is a football player, I can donate tax credit to those programs, and at least I know that that money is going to them rather than funneling through all the channels of state government in order to get back to my child.
So if I owe the state $1,000 before any credits and stuff or any deductions, I owe the state $1,000, I can say, well, 400 of that or whatever amount I want, maybe I want $100. $100 of that is going to go to the music program at the Show schools, instead of going to, I don't know, whatever else the state pays money for, spends money on, right? Is that that's what the tax credit is?
Yeah, so the tax credit allows us to designate, even if I didn't have a tax obligation, I can donate a credit.
Okay.
$200 if I'm an individual filer, or if I'm a couple filing jointly, I can do up to $400 to any school district in the state. Of course, we'd like those to donate to Sholo, that would be wonderful. But at the same time, I could donate to any program. And what that allows me to do is then dictate where my tax dollars essentially are going, so that if I like music, or if I like athletics, or field trips, or whatever extracurricular I'm excited about, I can donate my money, and rather than it going through all the channels of state government and maybe not even getting back to my child or grandchild or nephew or niece, I can then dictate where that money is going and kind of how it's used.
Well, one of the things you said made me think, it isn't just like if you live in the Sholo School District, you don't have to just donate to the Sholo School District, or you can. But for instance, I think one of my kids was going on a field trip, maybe to Sky Y with Mr. Hall's, and his grandparents donated, and they lived in a different town in Arizona, but they were able to donate their tax credit money to the Sholo schools. So anyone in the state could donate tax credit to the schools of their choice for their child, or they can be specific about it. Okay.
That's correct.
Well, that's great. So we want to get all of our grandparents out there, wherever they live in Arizona, to donate money. That would be great.
Exactly.
Yes.
So how much money does tax credit actually bring into the school?
In Sholo, we use tax credit for, as you said, for field trips, for extracurricular activities. Athletic fees are part of the extracurricular fees, and so we bring in roughly about $50,000 plus or minus, depending on the year,
That's great.
in tax credit money. So it's been a good program that a lot of people have taken advantage of. Unfortunately, I think that there's a lot out there that still, like as you said, misunderstand the tax credit. And so while it's been around for a good number of years, I think at least 10, maybe 15 years it's been around and available. As far as the state as a whole, we haven't seen everyone that could take advantage of it. And I think that's important that people know that it's available.
That's great. Okay, so I had another question for you, and that was what you said it's for extracurricular things, correct? Mm-hmm. So if I wanted to donate money to buy a musical instrument, that's not really extracurricular, so that doesn't count. So what types of things count, like that you can actually use it for? Maybe Kevin, maybe you could help us with this. What can the money actually be used for?
Well, down at the elementary level where I'm at, it's used for several things. We've taken several of our kids on field trips. Some of those include like Skyway Camp, which is it's a camp in Prescott where the kids learn about team building and also some skills that go right along with their standards that they're learning in 5th grade. In the past, we've taken our kids to San Diego to Sea Camp, and that's helped pay their way to fly over there and engage in oceanography activities.
One thing I think that's pretty neat about that is some of those kids have never flown.
That's exactly right.
Never been out of town.
Some of them have never seen the ocean.
Yeah, great opportunity.
It was a tremendous experience for them. We have 4th graders that have gone to the Grand Canyon to explore some geology, which goes along with their social studies standards. And the first Americans who came here, the Native Americans. So it's been really enriching for them to go out of the classroom, and those funds are used to help pay for those kind of activities.
But it can't pay for like books or things that they would be using in the class. It all has to go out of the class, right?
Right, to an extracurricular activity.
Okay. So the state did some interesting things this last year. When I say the state, the legislature did some interesting things. They allowed for non-public schools. I don't even know what that would be called. What is that called if you're not public? Private? Private schools. Charter, maybe not charter.
No, charters are public. So
yeah, charters are public, but if you're a private school, the state said, well, you can donate even more. Can you tell us a little bit about what they passed?
Well, it's been the case for a while that a couple who wanted to donate to a private school have a larger tax credit available to them if they're sending their child to a private school versus if my kid is in a public school. And so there's been that discrepancy there for a little while, and the private schools can use that for tuition and other things like that. And so there's been some things that they could do with it. The legislature on our end has at least allowed maybe a little more leeway in how we're able to use it. Not a whole lot. Those funds are pretty restricted in how they can be used, as Kevin said, in extracurriculars, but there is a little bit more leeway in how they're used now.
Well, are there any restrictions on those funds that go to a private school?
I can't speak directly to all the restrictions that are there on that side of the game, but I would imagine there are some, maybe not as tight as what we have on our end.
Okay. Well, one of the things I think is also, I don't know, maybe it's just not right, but the tax credit money, it's our tax money that we're designating to go to the school. And the public schools have to abide by other rules like state testing, but private schools don't have those rules. And yet the money is going to them. So I think that that's a concern, maybe a red flag. Maybe I want to call my legislature about that. But anyways, I think that's something important that we need to be aware of, that there are different ways that money can be used. You can donate to the private sector or you can donate to our public schools. And I think our public schools, their hands are tied a little bit more than others. And so talking about how we use it, why don't you go into other ways of how you use it and how valuable that has been for you as a school?
It's been a real strength. And I want to say thank you to our community for those that tax credit dollars don't only come from parents. You know, it's great to see members of our community
or grandparents, right?
That want to just reach out and help schools, help children. So we've been benefited by a very good giving community, and I want to say thank you to that. But
well, we've $50,000 in our community. That's amazing. I think we do live in a very giving community.
We have after-school programs that we like to involve kids in that give them an opportunity to perhaps have some homework help or have some enrichment done in the arts and sciences. Tax credit dollars have been used for that, for after-school programs. They've been used for tutoring programs at our school. Our district has a lot of plays and dramas and musicals that take place. I know tax dollars have been a big strength to that, a big help for that. Our third graders do, again, it's a field trip, but they learn about city government. So they've been able to participate and go around the city to learn about city government. And that's come about through tax dollars.
That's great.
So, yes.
That's wonderful. So, Shad, when can we donate to this?
It used to be, and this is something that has really helped. It used to be that you had to donate by the end of the year. So coming up in December of 2017, we would have to have had our tax credits done. And there's been a big push historically with tax credits about around the December time. And that's always difficult. Anytime even if you really want to make a $400 contribution in December around Christmas and all the holidays. And a few years back, the state legislature said that we can now, all the way up through tax day, April 15th, we can donate a tax credit and then determine which year we want that to be in. So if I don't pay a tax credit through 2017, and I'm getting ready to do my taxes and I realize I haven't done my tax credit, I can write a check at that time for however much I want, anywhere up to $400, my wife and I can, and I can designate whether I want that to be in 2017 tax year or 2018 if I were paying it in or doing my taxes in April of 2018. So there's some leeway in there on when we do it. It's extended out 4 months from what it used to be, and it's really nice. I look at it this way: if I do a $400 tax credit and I do my taxes the next day or at the same time, when my tax refund comes in, I get that $400 back
right
in my
away.
pocket.
Yeah.
And I don't lose out on anything. I just don't have it in my account for a few days.
So what if I don't have $400 right now to pay? So is there do you have to do it in a lump sum?
No, there's all kinds of options out there for you to be able to pay it in increments that you can handle in your family budget. So whether that's $50 over a time, and nothing says that we have to contribute all $400 as a couple. If my wife and I figure that our budget will sustain $100, well, we can pay $50 once and $50 again and meet that $100 that we wanted to contribute. So there's a lot of leeway in there. It just sets the maximums that we can donate, but it doesn't regulate how we do that.
So with school starting, I know there's a bunch of fees that you pay up front. Like, can you use it for those?
There are some fees that you can use it for. And Kelly Boyer in the district office handles those interactions, and she can help to clarify what fees are and what fees can't be used for that.
What would count and what wouldn't?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. And it will depend on really whether it's extracurricular or not. That's really the bottom line. You'll notice that we're going to put up on the screen links to Blue Ridge and Snowflake and Sholo. so that you can see each of those schools accept tax credits and would be glad to take your money and use it for our children here on the White Mountains. Is there anything else that you can think of that you'd like the public to know as far as tax credits go?
You know, having raised 4 children, we've taken advantage of this opportunity, Debbie and I, my wife, and we've helped, fund some activities for our children. But now that we have children that are all raised now, it's been a benefit to the school. I can testify to that, and I know that when we get that money back in return, it's something that we will continue to use, even though we no longer have children.
So even though you don't have kids in the school,
I'll take care of my own kids in the school, I guess, huh?
Yeah, you'll take care of your
my
kids.
500 kids at school, yes.
That's great. What about you?
What I like to say is, there's community members everywhere that have been extra generous to the Show Low schools, and we see that year in and year out. This tax credit allows people to find a special interest in the schools that they are passionate about, that they want to donate their money to. I think everyone looks for a special interest they want to get involved with and contribute to. A tax credit allows us to find those special interests, whether it's in the arts or in athletics or just field trips that are enriching to kids, and it gives them that special outlet to contribute their tax credit to, and then get that money returned back to them, and they get to dictate, this money goes to my special interest. I'm supporting kids in education, and yet I'm going to see that money come back at tax time. And it's a win-win for everyone. It's a win for the community and those taxpayers that are taking advantage of it, and it's a win for education, where we get to provide enriching opportunities for our children.
I love that. So as a community, we want to say thank you. Thank you for donating your tax credits to the schools. Thank you for helping educate our kids and provide enriching experiences for them. And join us again next time on School Zone. Thank you both for coming.